It's another lovely Thursday, and you're right here listening to Invicta 98.9 FM. All right, it's time for the Never Dull Moment program on radio that's talking about Ground Zero. Ground Zero, like you know, is a program that is designed to bring up topical issues in the polity. And with guests in-house, we are able to analyze these issues and put some fresh perspectives to them so that you, the listener, can get to understand what these issues are and how it can affect your life. Okay, my name is Ahis Admo. On the program Ground Zero today, we will be looking at strengthening emergency response and coordination in Kaduna, and with specific emphasis on hazard profiling. Okay, when we are talking about hazard, we'll get to understand, because the layman has his own understanding of what hazard is, but we'll know what hazard really is today. And of course, we know that over the years, different things in respect of the environment has impacted the lives of people, either positively or negatively. Positively, it wouldn't be news, but negatively, the whole world will be talking about it. Flood, we know, is one constant issue that we are facing. Fire, we don't have mudslide in this part of the country. Desertification and several other things are some of the environmental issues that we face day to day. Today, we shall be getting a perspective to all of this as we try to understand what hazard profiling is all about, and of course, how what the government is doing and every other organization to make sure that we live in an environment where we can sleep well, wake up well, and live our lives to its fullness. And my guests on the program today are two persons that I would say are very conversant with what we'll be talking about. I have an environmentalist in the person of Gloria Kasang Bulus, an award-winning environmentalist. Gloria, you're welcome to Ground Zero.
Thank you very much, Ahis, and good evening to the listening public.
Okay. I also have with me in the studio Eddie Ochibo. He is a veteran journalist and a media strategist, and one that has passion for environment and climate change. Eddie Ochibo, you're welcome to Ground Zero.
Thank you very much, Ahis. I appreciate my greetings to the listening public.
Okay, you, the listener, can be a part of the program, because in the course of the program, we'll open up the phone lines and you can get to add your voice to it. Also, you can go to our various social media portals and also drop your comments. On Facebook is Invicta FM Kaduna. We have the post up. You can go there and be a part of it. And you can also watch us on Facebook Live. And let's see, Wisdom, have you been able to link up the Zoom to the Facebook? Okay, soon you'll get to watch the video feeds also on Facebook so that you can see what's happening right here in the studio. But between now and then, let me just give you some little background on what we'll be looking at. In 2019, Kaduna State developed the State Emergency Response Plan, also known as a contingency plan, to help improve the state's resilience and recovery by responding adequately to mitigate disaster and manage effectively in the event it occurs. The contingency plan was limited and fell short of the current realities as more hazards continued to emerge in most instances, displacing people, livelihoods, and bringing about the loss of lives and properties. However, Kaduna State, through the Kaduna State Emergency Management Agency, is implementing a project to strengthen emergency response and coordination in all communities in the 255 wards of the 23 local government areas. The big story is that civil society, media, and government are working together to implement the project. Already, a hazard identification and priority for the state is being compiled, which will be exposing real causes of hazards and how the communities know them. Other stages are still awaited. However, over 30 trained field officers had been deployed to source this data firsthand from the field with an effective monitoring and evaluation mechanism to draw learnings about current realities at the grassroots level. Not far from now, the communities will again be engaged on early warning systems. These are very key disaster risk indicators, indication measures that will, in the long run, help develop a contingency plan that reflects today's realities in Kaduna State. Like I said before, Gloria Kasambulu is one of the consultants on the project, and Eddie Ochibo, who has monitored and reported on the project, shares on what these realities are. That's the crux of what we'll be discussing this evening on the program. While introducing the program, I talked about hazard. I'll start from the environmentalists. In layman's language, the woman on the street, the guy around the corner, what is hazard in their everyday language that they will easily understand? Gloria.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ahis, for this opportunity to be on Ground Zero. So when we talk about hazard, you said the layman. So let me try to break it down so that the layman can understand what hazard is all about. So let me simplify it. Okay, so when we talk about hazard, is what are those things that are happening in our community that poses us at risk or affects our vulnerability, that if we do not take care of it, can lead to something big that will probably affect lives and also affect properties.
Okay.
You understand? And so that is why when there is a flood, what happens after the flood? Lives are being lost, properties are being lost. So like, it must not necessarily be flood, but I'm just giving an example of but what is that thing that we know that if it's not being taken care of, from those little things, it could turn out to be something big that we do not have, that is beyond our capacity to be able to take care of it, which will now lead to probably loss of lives and properties.
Okay. Now, I'm sure we all understand all of this. Now, let's link it up to the environment, and I'm sure you know by now that if we are linking it up to the environment, it means those things in the environment that if not noted, taken care of, or if not properly understood, can lead to loss of lives and property. Okay. I'll come to talking about this hazard profiling that you are a part of. Tell us what's all about and why now? What's the importance? Why should we even be doing any hazard profiling? We've lived over thousands of years. We didn't die. Then why now? Talk to us.
But lives are being lost now, properties are being lost. So that is why it is very important that we have this hazard profiling. Okay. So looking at hazard profiling is you are looking at identifying those hazards and then also mapping those hazards. Now, say for example, we all know the case of Sabontisha. Last year we had quite a lot of flood that came up on the streets. Some even it affects some cars passing by, some houses. People have lost lives, some properties. Mm-hmm. But then do we keep enjoying that? I mean, there's been quite a lot of losses that have happened over there, even with the conflicts happening around, because conflict too is a hazard, you know. And so should we keep continuing as in this kind of way that these things, the impact is being felt? So that is why it is very important that we identify these hazards and we map them. Aside identifying these hazards, you know, this happens at community level, where you sit down with the community, you understand the nature. It's only the community that can tell you what they face every day in their various communities, in their homes, on their streets and everything. And that would also help the communities to be able to look at it and say, okay, fine, we're faced with these hazards. We've identified it. Now, some people don't even know that it is a hazard until you actually help them to identify it. Okay. And it goes beyond identifying those hazards. It goes beyond looking at what is the damage that these hazards have caused. Yes, we are looking at the frequency of occurrence. We are looking at the magnitude. How many lives has this affected? How many properties have this affected? How many villages, how many communities has it affected? So we're going is an in-depth analysis to see the nature, to understand the nature of these hazards. And after we have understood the nature of this hazard, we're going beyond to look at, okay, fine, which hazards are a priority? You understand? How many years interval do we have these hazards? Is it like every 3 years they occur, or or less than a year, or within 10 years you see those hazards? You need to understand the nature of those hazards before you can actually put on mitigation plans or strategies on ground. And then you need to even understand, and let's say, for example, we have flood and people are drowning or something happens. Where do they run to? Are there facilities available for them? Does the facility have the capacity to accommodate it? Does it have in terms of staff, in terms of what do they call it, bed space, or what can the facility accommodate? So those are things that the hazard profiling will also help us check. And it's also for communities, because at times we rely so much on the government come to our aid. But at times there are things that we also can do in our own communities that can help us address this hazard. Now, this entire exercise is looking at the vulnerability of the community, and also is looking at the capacity of the community. So it's going to look at what can they do in terms of this hazard before help comes from them. There are little things that they can actually put in place to address it before like help comes from the state government. And at times some of this help might not just come because they don't even get to know that some of these things are happening.
Okay. Eddie, I'll come to you now.
No.
You've worked the beat for some time now.
Yes.
And I'd like for you to share with me some of your thoughts in respect of all of this.
Thank you very much, Aziz. I think my amiable sister Gloria has actually captured it, properly. And as a reporter who has monitored the exercise, I look at it through that prism. And it's important to know that hazard is different from disaster. Okay. Hazard leads to disaster, But there are all kinds of hazards. What my take in the course of monitoring Chukun, Kajuru, Jema, and the rest of them is that the people are more worried than the hazard that they are talking about. They are more worried about insecurity and kidnapping than some of these things, because the community people that they were doing the mapping, the field officers, they were drawn from women leaders, youth leaders. Opinion holders in the society, people whose decision carry considerate weight in the communities, and in some of the communities, most of the things we're talking about, they say they can't sleep well. That's problem of this insecurity, to the extent that one of the respondents, said that it's even very sad that even within them, that is members of the communities, we go and connive with the criminals, kidnap them and then share the ransom and the loot. So in doing this, I think I know that the Kaduna State government they want to give it a holistic approach.
Yeah.
So the issue of insecurity and kidnapping and all this is really affecting community people, the hinterland. Okay. So I'm sure, given all the reports we've done, this has been captured in the contingency plan, that the issue of insecurity in the hinterland must be thoroughly looked at and steps taken to at least make our people in the community to live in peace.
All right. The most important thing is protecting lives and property and giving people the ability to live in peace. Now, Gloria, I'll come back to you now. These are mapping that was done, and from what we heard from Eddie, people's concerns, I know there is a correlation between all of this. What correlation would you say you see between insecurity and this hazard mapping directly now?
Okay, for the hazard mapping, like it is a hazard identification. So first of all, you're identifying the hazards. So in the course of because currently we are analyzing the data gotten from the field. And so if we have looked at it, some of these things have been captured already. Conflicts are being captured, even the farmer header slashes, they are all the hazards that we are experiencing. Not until some experts will say not until there's loss of life and property, it is not yet a disaster. Okay. But it is a potential hazard. So these are things that have already been captured. And we're looking forward to, by next week, the field officers will be trained, and then they'll go back to the field again, and then we'll set up early warning system. Now, this early warning system will help the community in terms of how they can mitigate these hazards when they come on, when they happen, how they can, what strategies can they put in place amongst them, and then what means of communication. It's going to look at a lot of strategies for them in the community. Yeah. And then aside that, again, there's going to be a document that's going to be reviewed. That there's a document called the Emergency Response Plan for Kaduna State, which is a contingency plan, on which we're looking for that the document is part of the project. The document will be reviewed in a few weeks' time after the field officers have come back from the field. And from what we have gathered from the data, from the hazard profiling and also the early warning system, we'll be able to have very rich informations that we'll be able to put into the contingency plan. And this contingency plan would help us in terms of response, and then we'll all know who is responsible for this. And when there's a need for help, you understand who will you contact and what the community is expected to do amongst themselves. So the project is actually quite a very big one, and is going to address a lot of things at the end of the day. And then we hope that from that, the structures that we have at community level, at the local government level and the community level, will also be strengthened. And we're hoping with that, a lot of things will be addressed in terms of the conflicts, the farmer header clashes. People will be able to understand what is happening. We know what is happening, and in as much as people in communities are not able to sleep, we ourselves too here are not able to sleep, because you wouldn't know when it will come to your doorstep. And then we also have loved ones, family and friends around in some of these communities that are facing some of these issues. So it's something that is affecting everyone. And that is why this hazard profiling is also timely. It will help a lot in decision making. It will help a lot, not just for the state emergency management agency, but also it's a document that a lot of sectors can actually look into it, that will help them. In fact, the entire exercise, the findings from this exercise will actually help a lot of sectors, be it education, be it internal security, health, be it what do they call? In fact, across all sectors. I mean, this is a very rich project that will give a lot of vital information for Kaduna State. And I know that going forward, at the end of this project, we will all have, we will derive a lot of satisfaction at the end of this project, God's willing. And some of these things will be either reduced to a minimal, or if not completely gone by the grace of God.
All right. You're listening to Ground Zero right here on Invicta 98.9 FM. And on the program today, we are looking at hazard profiling and what the Kaduna State government and, of course, NGOs and the media are doing in respect of understanding all of these things and putting in strengthening emergency response and coordination in Kaduna State. That's basically what we are looking at today. Very soon we'll link up to some field officers scattered across the state and get to hear from them. I'm sure that Danjuma Dangwa is standing by, because next I'll be linking up with you on Zoom. So Danjuma Dangwa, if you are ready, I'd like to get your perspectives on this hazard profiling. Danjuma, are you with me?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Ahis.
All right, Danjuma. Yes, let's get your perspective on this hazard profiling.
All right. First, I want to say that the hazard profiling is first beneficial to the communities who are now identifying them and knowing things that are maybe doing them harm on a consistent basis, but they have not been also adequately aware of it and able to prepare and mitigate it when it happens. Some of these things are happening every day around us. And then next to that is that we are now having access to a database that tells us the areas that are vulnerable, their forms of vulnerability, and the type of interventions that are needed to make those communities thrive. We are also at this, what I mean by that is that when we say we are doing pilot programs or projects as civil society organizations or as NGOs or as even government, we are now able to target people who are in need of these interventions directly. Next to that is also the fact that perhaps if our budgeting system will begin to highlight and mark out these areas of intervention, then we will be reducing vulnerabilities of our communities by percentages that, if sustained, will translate to robust growth for us, even in our GDP, and improving livelihoods. Long before now, it was very impossible for us to admit that the kind of insecurity we have in Kaduna State involves terrorism, banditry, abduction, arson, robbery. We were thinking more of it within the confines of communal clash. There are some certain violence that we've witnessed that the root causes are not what we have even imagined. Some people are living in communities with pre-existing land disputes, border disputes, and even the issue of the shrinking space of governed spaces. The reforms of traditional institutions and some of these things that have exposed communities are actually things that you could find, being made manifest as we continue to look at these issues of hazard profiling. But by and large, without data, we cannot plan effectively. And with data now like this, we have a chance to do better. And considering the fact that all the 255 wards in Kaduna State have been engaged, communities from these areas have been identified, their form of vulnerabilities are also being highlighted here. So it is a document that is beyond just sampling. The sample is the entirety of Kaduna. And so we have every opportunity here to get close to planning effectively. And that is the emphasis I want to lay to this entire exercise. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Danjuma. We have several other of the field officers standing by, and we have Abbas Hamisu, we have Anthony Sarina, we have Ima, and also Jacob Dodo. We have Hosea Laya.
One of the
Okay. Ima is one of the consultants. Yes. If Ima is listening to us, we'd like to get your perspectives on this.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, Ima, we can hear you. Go on.
Okay, so much has been said by colleagues, and again, in the same vein, is to say that for every development, like we all know within the development sphere, that there's nothing that should be planned for people without them. And so for this kind of level of planning, this kind of level of engagement should definitely be with the community people, because again, hazard happens at the community level. So therefore, participatory planning must be with the people who are at the receiving end of a hazard or several hazards in this case. So therefore, this engagement is from the bottom top. And so therefore, I would say that it's to provide evidence that we guide for specific response that has to do with an emergency response in Kaduna. And it may just be even a pilot that other states may want to leverage to scale up to them, so that in the entire country, we will have a very robust, not just document, but again, I mean, experience and a very good guide for our work that has to do with emergency response. So thank you very much as we listen to more other speakers that will talk about what we are talking about today. Thank you and over.
All right. Thank you so much, Emmanuel Danjuma. He's a disaster risk reduction expert and he's a lead consultant on this particular project. Now, let's see. We also have Jacob Dodo. Are you standing by? Okay, are you just?
Yeah, I'm standing by, sir.
All right, Jacob Dodo, let's get your perspective.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, all.
Jacob, are you here?
My perspective, yes, I'm hearing you. Sorry, the network over here is a bit funny. Hello. Hello.
Yes, go on, please. We are listening to you.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
As one of my boss, Elias, and Gloria too at the same time, participatory exercise is the best because we as field officers, we really don't know much about communities. It's only the people in the community know much about environment, the terrain they live in, what fear they live in, day out. And whether it's going to happen today or it's going to happen tomorrow, we can't tell, but only know how the system works with them. So we definitely have to engage the community members as field officers to work with them to really know how we can provide that contingency plan and early warning system for the whole of the state entirely. And once we're ready to do that, and once we're ready to be a team to work together with the field officers, then and only then we can achieve what we really want to achieve in the field and back here in the state with SEMA. And everybody is going to smile because one way or the other, we're able to curtail disaster happening, not just to our people, but to our properties at the same time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your contribution. Let's see if Mubarak Zachary is ready. Okay. Antonio Sarina. Is Antonio Sarina standing by? Or Abbas Hamisu, whichever one that's ready.
Somebody's ready.
Okay, Antonio Sarina is with us. Antonio, let's get your perspective on this.
Okay, good evening all. I have been following the conversation and it is actually a privilege for me to contribute to the conversation that is ongoing. Actually, I am the field officer for Chukun local government and we did a thorough job in Chukun local government, which to me, it was satisfactorily done because all the ward members were, all the ward stakeholders were involved, and also they were the ones that were identifying those hazards that are peculiar to their environment. And if I can recall what we actually discussed with them, they had to tell us this is more, and this has this certain occurrence in a year. And from there, you understand that they, as the people in the community, they have the understanding that, okay, this is more prevalent in their own places. And most of them, especially for Chukun local government, where I covered, they are actually having to face a lot of challenges that has to do with insecurity, kidnapping, and also flooding, which they told us we have covered most of their problems. And it got to the stage that we had representatives from the youth, from the women, which actually it was not just one-sided. And women, the women leaders that were actually in our discussions actually brought out issues that has to do with gender-based violence, which to an extent, some of us feel it is not worth discussing, but it is actually eating up in the community. And right now, I'm very happy because those are things that we brought out, and it's going to form the tentative document that government is going to work on. And probably after the document is being brought out, it will show where such hazard is prevalent and where it is more high in terms of community and local government. I think, let me just stop here so that others would contribute towards it too. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very, very much. Okay, let's take a breather. We'll go to our listeners, let them call in so that we can all have a feel of what this is all about, get feedback from our listeners, get contributions, and if they have questions that they want to ask, they can all come in now and ask the questions so that together we can rub minds and get to understand all of these issues better. The program is Ground Zero right here on Invicta 98.9 FM. And on the program today, we are basically looking at we are basically looking at how broadly we can reduce disaster within and around where we live in. My guest in the studio, I have Eddie Ochidbo, a veteran journalist and media strategist. Also, I have an environmentalist and consultant on this particular project, Gloria Kasang-Bulus, and together we are looking at strengthening emergency response and coordination within the state with specific emphasis on hazard profiling. We'll take some messages. Right after those messages, we will come back and talk more on the program Ground Zero right here on Invicta 98.9 FM. All right, welcome back from that commercial timeout. You're listening to Ground Zero right here on Invicta 98.9 FM. And for those that like to call in to be a part of the discussion this evening, just go to our various social media handles. And of course, you can call the number 081 40989 and 07087800989. We are looking at strengthening emergency response and coordination in Kaduna State with specific emphasis on hazard profiling as our subtopic. And in the studio here, we've been talking about all of this, and also would like you to add your voice to this conversation. I have Eddie Ochidbo with me in the studio and Gloria Kasang-Bulus as my studio guest. Meanwhile, other field officers that are also reporting on what's happening on the field are part of it. We've spoken with Emmanuel Danjuma. He's a disaster reduction expert and lead consultant on this. And also we have Jacob Dodo, Abbas Hamisu, Anthony Sarina, and several other persons. So put your calls through down 081 40989 is the number to dial to be a part of Ground Zero this evening. Any question in respect of what we've been talking about or contributions, you can call us direct and let us talk. Eddie, from what you said earlier, the people, part of their major concern is insecurity.
Like one of the field officers, raised, Yeah, it is, and it's not just them. The bigger picture of all of it all is that the entire country are concerned with insecurity. So it's not just them alone. Yeah. It's a national problem that we are facing. So what I was trying to emphasize is it should be prioritized. Okay. Because if it overwhelms the other hazards and this, it means the exercise will not be. So we have to prioritize the issue of insecurity, see how this can be secured first. Okay. And another good thing about it all is the data collation of it, because Kaduna has been very, very upcoming in terms of taking the lead. Yeah. Because if you look at it now, if this exercise becomes a success, Kaduna will be a kind of, rallying point for data, environmental data, so that other states can come to Kaduna and see how it was done, so that they can borrow a leaf and then make the exercise a national exercise, not just at state level.
Okay, making it a national exercise, not just at state level, because all of these are things that matter a lot to the people. Now, I'll come back to Gloria, and let's still talk about this hazard profiling. And we know that in every community, whenever issues like this happens, most often than not, it's the women and children that majorly bear the brunt.
Victims, yes.
In the whole of this, what is the role of women, then youth now? Because children might not be very prepared for stuff like this. Women and children, what role do you think they play in all of this, the hazard profiling and all of that?
As a woman, and also from the side of the State Emergency Management Agency, they are very considerate about gender representation, which is very key. And of course, the world is looking at that, to have looking at women as the most vulnerable. And this project is not just looking at women and children, it is also looking at persons with disability. And that is why in the course of the work on the field, and the field officers can testify to that, there were emphasis done that there are amongst the respondents to the focus group discussions, there should be representation from women leaders, and there should also be representation from persons living with a disability, except in communities where persons living with disability are not available. So because we want to capture them all in this whole exercise, because if they have that sense of belonging, if they feel that concern towards them, it will be easier for them to be part of the will I say the early warning, establishing of an early warning system, and in bringing out measures that will help mitigate some of these hazards. And also, you cannot speak on behalf of someone if you're not in the person's shoes. So I wouldn't expect you here to come and speak on the behalf of women, except if probably you have spoken to us and we have articulated some of our issues or what I was he's help us, present this to the general public. So hearing it from the horse's mouth is always very important. So we're actually considering women. We have high consideration for the vulnerable persons in this entire project. And then we've had discussions also with SEMA, especially the executive secretary of SEMA, in person of Abubakar Hassan, of which he is actually looking at what can we do around women. And I knew when I said, okay, we need to come up with something around gender response in terms of a gender responsive DRR. So those are things that he has in view, and I know we also look at it. But like I said, it's a process that we're in. We have done the hazard profiling. We have identified quite a lot of hazards already. We have gone now. We are going to go into establishment of the early warning system, of which women will still be a part of the establishment of this early warning system, and also the review of the contingency plan. We have those representations, and so by the time we finish, we'll look at it. What are those gaps and what are those hazards that are peculiar to women, and is there anything special that we can do around women? So it goes on and on and on. As we're working on this particular item, it births another one. So we have that in view, and we hope that we will get as much support as we can to be able to have a very effective gender responsive DRR in Kaduna State.
All right, thank you so much. I can see that Jacob Dodo just dropped some items on the chat room. Jacob, we'd like to have you voice out these items you just dropped in the chat room. So Jacob, if you're with us, let's speak with you.
Once again, good afternoon.
Yes, we are with you.
As I earlier wrote, time spent in contingency planning equal to time saved when a disaster occurs. And effective contingency planning should lead to timely and effective disaster relief operations. I want to give out this question to my boss, Gloria, still there. And the question goes like this. The contingency planning process can basically be broken down probably into 3 questions. What is going to happen? What are we going to do about it?
Questions? What we are going to do is we are actually running out of studio time. What we do is that you just remain on the Zoom platform. As we leave the studio, there'll be answers to those ones. They will be uploaded on the Facebook page of Invicta FM, because sincerely, I just discovered that we are running out of time and we may have to give our parting shots now and rounding up. So, Eddie, in all of this, who gains and who loses?
Fantastic question. I think there will be no losses, no gains. You know, the gain will be for everybody, for government, for the people. But like I said, Kaduna still remains the only, state or that has always taken the lead in terms of data. Data is a very big challenge to this country. We don't have data.
Yeah.
So my wish as a reporter covering this very exercise is that in the end, let us be able to garner that data properly. That is including disability, everybody. Let's bring out a robust data.
Okay.
So that will be a reference point, not only to Kaduna as a subnational, but to the national level, and in fact, the national emergency, NEMA.
Yes, National Emergency Agency.
NEMA should, be part of some of these kind of things that are happening at the state level.
Yeah.
So that we give it a robust approach that in the end we will say that we have a good data for disaster or disaster management in the state, not only in the state but in the country.
And Gloria, what would be your parting shots?
Hazards, no persons knows no class. And it is our responsibility to work together to see how we can mitigate some of these hazards so that they do not turn out to be disasters where we'll be so overwhelmed, we'll not be able to take care of it. And so we need all the support we need. We need to support our communities, those that are able, and then we need to also support the government, because it's not a government thing, it involves everybody. And let's be positive and let's see how it goes. And thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I'd like to sincerely appreciate everybody that has been a part of this program this evening, starting all the way from Danjuma Dangwa, Mubarak Zachary, Abbas Hamisu, Antonio Sarina, Emmanuel Danjuma, Jacob Dodo, and others that did not properly name their devices, so we cannot readily mention your name. T3QZCD. That's not a name, but a code. Well, Eddie Ochido, thank you so much for having time to be on Ground Zero this evening.
My pleasure.
Gloria, thank you so much for having time to be on the program.
Thank you, Ahis, for this time, for giving us this opportunity to speak about this hazard profiling. It is very important that this be discussed with the public. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. All right. All right. We now know the name of the code. Augusta, we are hailing. That's the ES Executive Secretary of SEPA. Okay. My name is Ahis Adon. It's been nice speaking with you and hoping that we all understand what the importance of hazard profiling and how, of course, all of this can add value to the data that we're putting together in the state and also leads to making life better for everybody, giving us the ability to sleep well, knowing that we have systems in place. Even when it happens, it would not be devastating. Until on Tuesday, we'll be on again for another package of the program Ground Zero. I am Ahis Adon. You can call me the Peacemaker. I also want to appreciate Wisdom Agulana and Ephraim Ebene, and of course, not forgetting Gilead, the one that gave us the opportunity to even talk at all. Plant a tree today, water it, and watch it grow. May the good mighty Lord bless and keep us all.